This year's March Madness Tournament of Books is starting soon. Like last year, we're going to have matchups against books, and we'll start with the Sweet 16 and go down to the Elite 8, then the Final Four, and then the big game, which will determine the ultimate winner of our March Madness tournament. So what I want to do today is go through all of the books for you very quickly so that you know what you're voting on, and then each week when you come in, you'll have a ballot to vote on, and then we will get down to our final winner. All right, so the first two, we have books that you've seen before. We have Refugee and Restart. Refugee is by Alan Gratz, and it's about 3 different characters in 3 time periods that are seeking refuge from violence in their countries, and their stories are intertwined in some unique way. That goes up against Restart. The main character in this book has taken a big fall and has amnesia, and when he comes to, he's realizing he wasn't quite the person that he really wants to be, and so he has a chance to restart his life. The next matchup we have, you see another book that we had last year, Ghost. This is actually our winner, and that's the first in the track series by Jason Reynolds. And in this one, Ghost is the main character, and he is running away from his past. He had a very troubled childhood. He was almost killed by his father, and so they've sort of been running away from that ever since. And in middle school, he meets up with this elite track team, and he's a great runner, but he needs a lot of coaching in life and on the field. So that goes up against Renegades. This is a book by Marissa Mayer, and she is the author of Lunar Chronicles, which is really popular. And in this book, you have the Renegades, which are superhumans. They have like these superhuman abilities now, and they have created order and justice in the world after chaos reigned and society crumbled. And they are continuing that. However, their enemies are coming back to fight again. So the next matchup we have is another Alan Gratz book called Grenade, and that goes up against A Night Divided. In Grenade, there is a boy living in Japan, and he is drafted to the Japanese army during World War II, and he's given grenades and told that he needs to go out and kill an American. Meanwhile, Ray, an American Marine, is also out there trying to survive and go through battles as well, and eventually they meet on the battlefield. And what happens next, you'll have to find out. In A Night Divided, we have a family that is literally divided by the Berlin Wall in the middle of the night. A dad and brother on one side, the mom, sister, and another brother are on the other side. And so they have to figure out how they're going to get back together. And the dad has a radical idea of building a tunnel under the wall. So will they escape? The next two are our two graphic novels, manga and a graphic novel. So they are My Neighbor Seki and Pandora's Legacy. So in this one, you have Seki, who is just constantly doing weird things in class and has all these sort of big imagination, and his neighbor Rumi is sort of having to deal with that. And then that goes up against Pandora's Legacy. And in this, you have 3 siblings that are a part of a family that are supposed to guard Pandora's box that has, all these monsters and evil things. And they go on this trip and break this vase that accidentally unleashes these monsters, and now they have to try to get them back. And so you see how that happens in Pandora's Legacy. In the next two, I have Spy School and The Eighth Day. Spy School is a series by Stuart Gibbs. He also writes the Moonbase Alpha series as well, which is detective related. In Spy School, the main character is this dorky middle school kid, and then he gets drafted to go to the CIA school, and it was actually a case of mistaken identity. So he's trying to play this cool guy, and it was really meant for someone else, and it's a pretty funny book. And then that goes against Eighth Day. And in this book, the main character wakes up and he thinks he's in like the zombie apocalypse. There's no people there, but comes to find out from his guardian he's actually in the Eighth Day, which is an extra day sandwiched between Wednesday and Thursday. And there is a whole movement in the people of those days trying to destroy the real world in the rest of the week, the 7 days, and only have the 8th day. And that's also part of the series. And my next two, I have Amal Unbound, and my real name is Hannah. In Amal Unbound, she is growing up in a Pakistani village, quietly trying to become a teacher, and then ends up having to stay home and take care of her siblings, so she's the eldest. And eventually she gets taken into the Khan's home kind of as a servant to pay her family's debt, and comes to find out that that dynasty is really corrupt and terrible, and so she's trying to figure out how to work with other people to get change in her village. And then my real name is Hannah is about a family during the Holocaust in the Ukraine, and they are treated terribly even before the Germans come in, and then the Germans come in and they have to suffer all these injustices and finally have to flee and live in caves and hide out during the Holocaust in order to be saved. And then in the next two, I have The Best Man versus The First Rule of Punk. In The Best Man, the main character, he has four main people in his life that are really great. He has his dad, his grandpa, his uncle, and his favorite teacher, Mr. McCloud. And things get a little bit interesting during middle school when Mr. McCloud and his uncle decide to get married. And then The First Rule of Punk, you have your main character. They move to a town in Chicago, and she comes into a new middle school, breaks the dress code with her crazy pink hair, and snubs the, I guess the people that are most popular, and kind of makes her own rules in this new middle school. So we'll see how that goes. And then the last two I have Inside Out and Back Again and Harbor Me. In Inside Out and Back Again, this main character and her family are living in Vietnam, and it's a wonderful life. They love it. It's a great village. However, as the Vietnam War comes in 1975, they realize that they need to escape. And so this is a story written in verse about them escaping to America, and they moved to Alabama. It's pretty easy to read because it is in verse, so that's another great one. And then the last one I'm going to talk to you about is called Harbor Me, and it's about 6 different kids that get together in this space where they can talk without adults and have all sorts of things they talk about. Esteban's talking about his dad's deportation, another person's talking about how their parents are in jail, and then you have someone else talking about racial profiling. So they deal with sort of big topics of the day, and they find safety and bravery talking to each other and making a community for themselves. So those are all of the 16 books. Each week, like I said, you will vote. So we'll get down from 16 to 8 to 4 to 2, and then we will finally have our big winner. I will also have a little cheat sheet for you guys to look at each week, just to be a reminder for you. And then the bulletin board out in the hallway will have it, and each week I'll put the winners there for you as well. All right, so that's it. I'm looking forward to voting. Thanks.